The Nintendo library is one of the biggest in the entire gaming industry, and they've made so many amazing titles, it's insane. However, now with the Nintendo Switch, and at some point the new version of it, Nintendo has a lot of options to bring back some amazing games. And I have a couple on my mind that certainly need to return. Now, about a week ago, I made a video about the possibility of a new Super Mario Bros. Game coming to the Switch. And around that time period, a rumor of a game like that coming to the console was floating around on the internet. By the way, you can check that video out by clicking in the upper right corner. However, this week we're going to look at another possible thing that might be coming to the Switch, or the next version of it. A very special group of games that could easily be ported to the Switch, and would sell like crazy. They have been releasing stuff like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, so a lot is possible. The thing I'm talking about are the Zelda HD remakes that were released for the Wii U and 3DS, called Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, The Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess HD. These games were enhanced versions of the old titles, and they look amazing and are just as much fun as the ones released back in the day. Now, the games released for the 3DS did quite well, and Nintendo made a lot of money off of it. However, the titles that were released for the Wii U didn't do as well. That console was a commercial failure after all. So one of the things I'm secretly hoping for is that Nintendo will combine all these games together and sell it as a bundle. To find out if this is possible, we will have to answer a couple of questions. Has Nintendo done this before? What kind of package could we expect? What will they add? Does it fit with the Switch? And how likely is it? Let's start with our first question. Now, Nintendo has actually done this before. Multiple times even. For example, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Four Swords. It was made for the Game Boy Advance and is an enhanced port of the two games all on one cartridge. While A Link to the Past is largely a faithful port of the original, it does include an entirely new dungeon and a new quest as reward for the player playing through the multiplayer-only Four Swords. Aside from these additions, it includes a number of smaller gameplay and dialogue changes. So they already did this back in the day, just before the release of The Wind Waker. So clearly Nintendo totally could and would do something like this. Back in the day, they even did a similar thing with the Mario titles. Super Mario All-Stars, which is a compilation of remasters with titles like Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. So there actually is a lot of potential. This idea could actually be in the making, or happening sometime in the future. But there is one problem. Are you subscribed yet? No? Well then do it right now! I make Nintendo content every week, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to click the bell icon as well. Alright, now that that's out of the way, we can continue. Now I'm hoping for a package where you buy all of them for $60. However, I think this is very unlikely, sadly enough. Knowing Nintendo, they will create two separate packages out of these games. One with all the 3DS games, and one with the Wii U titles. This would make Nintendo a lot more money, and putting 4 fully fledged 3D games on one cartridge is a bit much. So if it would ever happen, then expect 2 bundles for $60 each, which is still quite a good deal, especially if they add content to it. And that's what we're covering next. Will these games bring anything new to the table? The Four Swords and A Link to the Past bundle included a completely new dungeon after all. Well, one thing they could add is a dungeon inspired by Breath of the Wild, or certain artifacts from that game that can be found in the world. So either a small divine beast or shrine section, or an outfit like the ancient set. Both of these would be a fun reference to the new title. However, they don't have to do anything with Breath of the Wild. They could also use removed content from these games and actually finish and add them. For example, Ocarina of Time had a cut temple, Majora's Mask was supposed to be 7 days, The Wind Waker has scrapped islands, and Twilight Princess must have something laying around as well. So they could always use that to add some more special content to the game. Those games were released on the previous console after all. Now, how fitting would all of this be for the Nintendo Switch? Does all of this fit with the hybrid nature? Well, you can't really play this game together, so all the options you have with the Joy-Cons already fall off. However, there's another advantage to these games all coming to the Switch. It will become one of the best Zelda consoles in history. Now, every time I go to events like Comic-Con London, which I go to often, so if you ever come to Comic-Con London and want to hang out, just send me a message on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. I will look around for certain Game Boy games because I love collecting them. But that's not all, because that handheld console is also one of the best Zelda machines in history. Just look at the list of games you can play on it. Zelda 1, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past, Four Swords, the Oracle games, and the Minish Cap. That's already 7 out of 19 Zelda games, all on one portable and amazing console. When it comes to 2D, it's the best for sure. And if Nintendo would ever bring out all of these 3D remakes for the Nintendo Switch, then it would become the best 3D Zelda console. The only game that would be missing is Skyward Sword, but the chances of that game getting a remake is also huge. So while it wouldn't necessarily fit with the concept of the Switch, it would create an amazing home and on-the-go console for almost all 3D Zelda games. But now we finally arrive at our final question, something that will decide basically everything. How likely is it that Nintendo will do any of this? Well, there is actually one huge problem that might ruin our dreams completely: the 3DS itself. The Wii U was a failure, and Nintendo has stopped making games for it and doesn't really support it anymore. However, when it comes to the handheld consoles, it's quite different. In an interview with IGN at E3, Nintendo of America President and Chief Officer Reggie Fils-Aimé said Nintendo plans to support the Nintendo 3DS past 2018. The way we continue to make Nintendo 3DS vibrant as a platform is first we continue to innovate from a form factor standpoint. So the new 2DS XL is just the latest for us in having form factor innovation. We also know colors are a key factor. Consumers love the variety of different colors. And also the larger screen and the different form factor in the 2DS family, we think is gonna drive and continue to drive the 3DS platform. And that's where it ends. So clearly Nintendo isn't done with the 3DS yet. And like I mentioned before, both Majora's Mask 3D and Ocarina of Time 3D are for that console. So because they still want to support it, they might not re-release these two titles, because why would you get a 3DS then? Now, I'm not sure how long they will continue the support for the handheld, or even how serious they are about it, but it's still a problem. So will we ever see these games on the glorious Nintendo Switch? Who knows? I hope they will do it, but Nintendo can be a bit of an odd one. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to click that subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and if you want to watch more videos then be sure to do so, you lovely human. And now I'm gonna clean this voiceover and give it to my editor so you can watch this video that you're watching now. Bye!